It's Dave the pharmacist again. So I hope you're not expecting master artwork here, because I am not an artist in any way. But what I've done is I've just drawn two lines here, and these two lines represent a blood vessel. This is the blood vessel that we all want to have. We want to have a blood vessel like this because it's not blocked. There's no blockages, no narrowings in the vessels. So that means blood can travel freely through this blood vessel and go to all areas of the body. Now, that's important, of course, because let's say, for example, that this blood vessel is carrying blood to your heart, and specifically, let's say that it's carrying blood to a section of your heart right about there, and let's say that section of your heart contains about 3,000 muscle cells, let's say, okay? So let's just think about muscle cells in your heart for a second. So if you think about muscle cells in your heart muscle cells are some of the hardest working cells in your body. Think of them just as a little string that go up and down, and basically they have to contract every second. Every time your heart beats is a result of 3 million of these little string muscle cells connected together, shortening and relaxing at the same time, shortening and relaxing. So as you can imagine, if that's your job as a heart muscle cell in the body, you are going to be really hungry. You are going to eat a lot of calories. You're going to need a lot of energy to continue to shorten and relax every single second of the day. So, of course, the way that these muscle cells eat, or the way they get energy, is through the blood. So this is the blood vessel, of course, that we were all born with. And it can deliver blood, let's say, to this section of your heart where these 3,000 muscle cells are. So all of these guys are going to get everything they need. But of course, the blood vessel that brings us to the cardiac rehab class is a blood vessel that has been blocked, or there's a blockage. They'll call this atherosclerosis, or they'll call it plaque, all sorts of things. But basically, this is sort of the start of a problem that can lead to heart attacks. For now, I'd just like to, come back to this idea of, what makes a blockage in a vessel turn out to be a heart attack. And basically, a lot of people live with tiny, small blockages, maybe not so much this big, but a lot of people live with blockages in their heart and they never know that they've ever had them. And so most people with blockages have no idea they're there. The one thing that these blockages can do, and where they start to cause most of their trouble, is if they start to break apart. So if this thing breaks apart, and I've drawn another picture here, if this blockage breaks apart, essentially what it does is it fools your body into thinking that the wall of your blood vessel has broken apart. When these blockages break apart, platelets are fooled into thinking that this broken blockage is actually a broken blood vessel. It's your body's fooled into thinking that this is actually a hole or a tear in a blood vessel. So, of course, what do your platelets do? Well, they do exactly what they're supposed to do. They clump on top of this blockage, and because they're afraid, they're just doing their job, thinking that you might lose blood or cause bleeding out of this. Now, the downside of your platelets just doing what they're supposed to do is that you can see that a little platelet plug here, in reacting to a torn or cracked open blockage, is that you could end up blocking 99 to 100% of the blood flowing through this blood vessel now, because you've got part of it's blocked by this blockage, and now the rest of it is blocked by this little platelet plug. So if we go back to our first picture, and if we think of how if this blockage cracks open, and we've now got a no blood traveling through this blood vessel anymore, well, remember, blood was traveling through here, and oh, I better back up and tell you that, of course, this blood vessel, this isn't drawn anatomically correct, as you can imagine. This blood vessel is actually a blood vessel that's sort of probably snaking in the wall of the wall of your heart, and then it's delivering blood to this section, which we said had about 3,000 muscle cells. Now, of course, if this little blockage right here is blocking blood from traveling through this part of the vessel right here, then what do we get? Well, right here, we get 3,000 muscle cells that are contracting every second with every heartbeat. And now they're not getting any blood, so they're getting no sugar, no oxygen. And this is where essentially this will start to suffocate these heart muscle cells. And that is essentially how a heart attack happens. This is how a blockage can lead to a heart attack, where you get 3,000 muscle cells that are basically now starved of oxygen and sugar. And so if this blockage, if it doesn't get opened fairly quickly, then you can end up with some damage in these 3,000 muscle cells.